for Bonnie. Little conversation we had here on the way. And I'm going to read one more prosy thing called Jumper. It is about somebody who jumped off the bridge, who I knew. I knew the story before he jumped, how on June 17, 1958, 2 spans of the bridge collapsed into Burrard Inlet, killing 19 men. And often walking over the Iron Workers Memorial Bridge, I would be haunted by them. Those men falling 200 feet into the dark waters under my feet, plummeting with the girders and beams that a moment ago held them, were footholds and pathways, connections to the shore, to their station wagons parked on Hastings Street, waiting to take them home to wives and children. But in that moment, it was all yanked from them except the cold steel of screams that didn't have time to come up as they tumbled down, the fall reflected in the eyes of their mates who watched their friend's body, crazy, scuttle through the air out of reach, grasping nothing and no one or nothing to stop them or pluck them from the sky as the gulls screeched, circling above as the water turned hard as rock, twisting the bodies, smashing heads like a black shovel. The survivors running to the shore to find the broken bodies of the ones they shared their lunch with only an hour ago, made by women who will never see them again except in nightmare after nightmare, waking bolt upright, their arms outstretched towards their dead. Men that divers found at the bottom standing straight up, their tool belts holding them down, their hair waving as if in the wind, their hands reaching forward in the current like strange Frankensteins. And later the coroner, behind the closed door of his office, covered a muffled cry with a handkerchief, so alarmed and traumatized that by the bodies overflowing the city morgue, the bodies no longer recognizable as human, twisted, squashed, crushed by cable and steel, the bodies strewn everywhere, his own living Guernica. The bridge collapse was attributed to miscalculation by bridge engineers. A temporary arm holding the 5th anchor span was deemed too light to bear the weight. There was no one left to blame, the families were told. The chief engineer himself was killed that day while checking reports of a shift in the bridge. He was last seen taking measurements on the high girders as he walked the bridge spine like a man on a monster, listening to its groans and howls below, his tie blowing nervously out of his suit. But it's him I think about every time I cross over the bridge. The man from my work, from the halls and the lunchrooms. It is him I think about and his moment on the edge, his clear intent, unwavering, his old gray dog in the passenger seat, confused, staring at the driver's side door left wide open, the red car stopped in the lane halfway over the bridge, the traffic flowing it around like debris, the engine still running when he hit the water. And moments before, it was love or lust as his bachelor hands finally held a firm breast and a patch of moist dark hair, her smell still there on him as he drove down the cut to the bridge, to the railing. The night dark and slippery like all of his nights, and for the moment after, when her mother opened the door, seeing him on top of her, his big bulk of a body pressed onto her young daughter like an oily seal, and the horror reflected back in her eyes, it was then he saw he was a monster too, same as the ones he never called out of his own childhood. And for a moment, that moment, he would pay dearly with his life. And every time I ride over the bridge, it is them I see, that old gray dog, shivering and confused.